Hello everyone and welcome
Hello
to
everyone and welcome.
perhaps I should have paused the stream before I just started with the introduction. Let's just let's just try that again. Hello everyone and welcome to Touhou Replay Showcase. It is Sunday on the 8th of August and I have a bunch of replays to show, exactly 7 as usual. Yeah, I'm gonna. Right, so I'm just going to immediately start because this time I've even already dragged in all of the replays into their folders because this TRS is also sponsored by TH Replay made by Rabbit Dog. Right, I need to show this. And now it should show up, right? And the replay is already there. Now, I am looking for... Don't mind those Windows errors, I'm just looking inside the replay file to see what the name is that I'm looking for. It is this, right? And now the replay comment says, run was started at about 5 AM, don't know how I made it, and which section to skip if any, missed your second none was funny. Alright, then I guess I'll show that. Now can I speed up? I can. Right, this replay comment about 5 AM and not knowing what happened, this reminds me of a replay. It was during the Maribel era of TRS where someone submitted a replay where the comment said that they had a hangover and that replay was in the folder. But that was during the Maribel era, so you can't find it on the current TRS queue sheet. I have yet to actually contact Marvel about it to find that replay, but I'll do that eventually. Right, we have now reached the stage 2, the stage that has Mystia in it, and the second non is supposedly funny, so we'll watch out for that and then keep fast forwarding. But so far, from what I've been seeing while speeding up and talking about someone having a hangover and a replay appearing in the replay folder, this looks okay. Right, first spell. Right, so first spell complete. Now we can watch the second non. I mean, second non is just funny in general. Yep, that got very close. Very close. I think if you didn't dodge it, you would have probably reset because this is still stage 2. But still, nice dodge. Right, I'm supposed to be speeding once more. The run info is still wrong. Yeah, this is the run info from last week. This is player. Difficulty. And of course there's no wood shot in this game. But I even got the team wrong. I saw it this whole time on this on the game and I still got it wrong. And this is an no bomb run. Right, so you got enough, you scored well enough to see this spell. So now you get to score even more. Right, this is Snow Bomb. Died on the died on the last spell. Not that it really matters though. Like if you're not going for LNNFS or a really good score on, you tend to not really practice last spells anyways. Now this stage, depending on the shot type, I would actually show it because with some shot types, stage 3 in Iron is something that you need a lot of routing for. But not with not with Ghost Team, because with Ghost Team you have this spread shot and it deals decent damage, so the stage practically doesn't even exist. You can disregard its existence. You're doing this at the top. I've never seen someone do that before either. Anyways, as Ghost Team, you can basically disregard the existence of stage 4 because because you have a really good spread shot and it deals decent damage, so you just need to stream a little bit. As Magic Team, there's a bit of routing there, a lot actually. Or in general, as with narrow shots. On to stage 4. Yeah, it does look pretty easy and also pretty safe, but depending on the shot type, you're probably not gonna deal any damage. Like I never even considered going to the top there because I play as Magic Team and Magic Team doesn't have homing or a directional shot that the directional shot that Yomu has. So I just wouldn't be able to deal any damage up there. Right, so the stage 4 performance so far has been very standard. Nothing to say about it really. But again, spread shot. Big spread shot. Like that section right there didn't even exist because of the spread shot. Like there was some dodging and routing, but not on that last section. Right, Marissa. Depending on what shot you play, you either get Rainbow or Marissa as the boss here. People consider Rainbow to be the harder one. Which is, and in fact, whether or not you get Rainbow or Marissa in stage 4 is something that people do consider when picking a shot type. Yeah, Solo Yomu is actually really powerful. Like, Solo Yomu deals a lot of damage, or rather, the Yomu shot. It deals a lot of damage. So that's why familiar killing that's can be done pretty nicely here. For playing as Reimu, or and if you're playing a supporter team, that wouldn't be so nice. There was a death there, but I think it's too late to mention that. Because I was just checking my phone because I got a notification that a replay that is on the queue that hasn't been made public for viewing is now public for viewing. So it can be showcased next TRS because Google Drive won't give access denied error. But I will be for next TRS because I already decided on this schedule. These fairies that shoot formations, you do have to worry a bit about them, even with this spread shot. But they are just streaming. Like, they do exist, but on their own, they're not that big of a challenge. but you do kill everything else, which is pretty nice. I remember getting an insanely lucky dodge on that stage section with Magic Team because there was just so many things on screen because I don't kill them all with the narrow shot. Yeah, you can do this safe spot with both of the teams that get to have this boss fight and still deal damage. So here with solo Yomu, yeah, survival with Ghost Team. Survival with Ghost Team isn't too bad actually. At the least stage sections just don't exist with Ghost Team. But
Huh.
bosses might be something you have to concern yourself with. Also, hello, Gravy Guy. I'm glad that you're here. This'll probably make for a better episode of TRS.
Uh, yeah, I noticed there was a bit of a ghost town in here. I probably won't be in here for too long because I do have to sleep. Though I am working from home tomorrow, so I don't need to bust my butt anywhere.
Nice, that's very nice.
All right.
But
So, Ghost Team with Ghost Team Survival. I see.
yeah,
I actually think that it would be like Yuyuko's like spread is seems honestly pretty helpful for like a lot of segments, honestly, and it kind of like aids Yomu's like unfocused shot in some instances. Also, I would believe.
on that previous spell, you move around a lot and aren't really below the boss a lot. So with Border Team, you have a homing shot to compensate, but with Ghost Team, you have the spread shot to compensate.
Hmm,
This is
interesting. So,
all. This is also somewhat the case on this spell.
hmm. Well, isn't this like the spell just sort of like just streaming just a little bit anyway?
Yeah, it is, but you do need to be able to hit the boss to clear it without having to restream, and restreaming can be quite tough on that spell.
Uh, Also, like this last one with Yomu, honestly, I think like this last one with Yomu is probably like pretty fun, just in terms of like just using like her ghost tuff to just hit Marissa from like the start from there.
Yeah. Also
Uh,
regarding also regarding that death, you should have made the Master Spark initiate while you were at the top right of the screen, and then you would have enough space to go to the left.
I see. All right, stage 5. Okay. I guess
Yes.
the thing is, um, seems like he's already had like a couple. Like, has he had a couple misses? Judging from like the life count, I think
Uh,
he would have.
yeah, in stage 3,
Uh,
and one on Marissa,
so
an
I
unknown
see.
spell.
So that makes this 2 miss so far.
Yeah, I think that's 2 miss so far.
Ah, oh well. I mean, honestly, like some of these like patterns on Lunatic are pretty like hard to read with how dense they can be.
I mean, you get used to them at some point. And I mean, if you're going for LNB, but it just happens. You just die sometimes.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Also,
Also, I wonder.
this is
Hmm?
impossible, by the way. Not a second on the first one.
I see. Well, I mean, I think we kind of like saw the miss there, so yeah, it's pretty ballsy. Hey, you got the one up.
No item cap.
Uh, Thank goodness for that. uh, but then again, it's like, did the guy say like how many misses he had? Like
No,
before the replay starts? Oh,
no.
I see. Hmm. You think Yu Yu Ko solo would be like easy with this game?
Uh, no. I don't think it would be that easy. Because Yomu does deal a lot of damage. And sometimes you want that.
Ah, so Yu Yu Ko only just really makes the stages free, but like in terms of bosses, it's like,
I mean, in terms of bosses, you do use Yuyuko a lot because that's the focused shot.
hmm,
But if you can unfocus, you probably want to.
see.
But only below the boss because Yomu has no range.
Hmm. I guess that is just the perfect offset then.
Yeah, basically. Also here Yomu really shines because she just killed that familiar. It's a
Ah, so would that make it like easier to like stream through this? No, then just killing that familiar.
it just makes it so that there are less bullets. Same on this spell. It makes it so there are less bullets, so the squares you go in are a bit smaller.
Ah,
Also, Gravy, are you good with fan games?
a couple of them, yeah.
Okay, have you played Blue Devil and Beldever?
I played a little bit of it, yeah, but I haven't played too much the high difficulties because high difficulties are just like pain.
Alright, then I'll wait for Crested to arrive for that.
Mm, he's probably a lot more knowledgeable than I am about that game.
Yeah,
As far as I know about that game, it's just like, you know, survive, use the game's like hyper mechanic in order to like just bypass, well, in order to just like easily get through a lot of spells and just don't die because like dying is like very painful in that game. And I mean, coupled with the difficulty, yeah. uh, then again, I believe Crested was also like maybe a tester behind that game, but I don't think he was credited. It was like, I don't know. I recall that he had like some connections with the people who made that game. Also, Rip.
I can imagine that he had at least some connections, but I don't know how far they extend. But he does know a lot about the game, so I would rather wait for him for that.
I could probably tell you a lot more about like the Edo fan games though if we ever get any Edo fan games in here. So basically, what I'm saying is, someone please submit Riverbed Soul Saver to TRS, please. Uh, has he caught any of like these last words?
Uh, I'm not sure actually. Like, I haven't been keeping track of that.
Hmm. Well, I guess like since he's just sort of going for like just a no bomb run, I guess it really just doesn't matter whether or not he catches it then.
Yeah, it really does not matter. You basically don't need to practice those unless you're going for LNNFS or score run.
Hmm.
But you will accidentally practice the first one while going for attempts.
I mean, first one's like easy to like get to, though. I guess the matter of like passing it is just up in the air. So yeah, lost extend.
Yay. I mean, it's not hard to do, but if you spin it, that's the real challenge, to spin it. And to spin it on
Oh,
every wave also.
hmm. Interesting. Oh, Terragat said like they captured Mistia and Kines earlier on.
Okay.
Alright, that's neat. Alright, so hopefully it doesn't crash and burn on Kaguya.
I mean, this is a very possible possibility if the right cosmic ray hits me.
Alright, well yeah, best hope like, you know, none of those cosmic rays of like none of the Damaku that Kaguya is shooting. Man, what would a rice bullet feel like anyway? Ooh, jeez. Already
Yeah.
on the first bell.
I mean, the first spell is really hard.
Hmm. I mean, to really get in line of like, you know, in between those lasers, it is just, you know, kind of tricky to gauge with the fact that she's also just moving.
Scarlet team players have the strategy of positioning their familiars beneath, right below Kaguya when she shoots the patterns to know how the pattern is aimed.
Hmm.
So then
That's
the
actually pretty. So that actually sounds like a pretty neat way of like approaching that.
so then you know where the lasers are.
Uh,
Ouch. So then you know where the
is this
lasers
like?
are, and then it's up to the Skittles to not give shit RNG.
Mm, God, this is like 6, 7 miss already.
Maybe.
I mean, I'll say this: the guy's got shocking mental for like not bombing so far because then again, it's like I'm not really a professional survival player. I tend to bomb like a maniac if I feel like I'm just choking. Wait, whoa, did he already like shoot down like the familials over there with Yomo?
Yeah.
Damn. You definitely weren't kidding when you said that Yomo is pretty strong. Uh,
Hello, KVS.
Kakaride. What does Kakaride mean?
Can't tell.
What an anomaly.
Hello, gamer underbed.
uh, I guess he's still infatuated with the Bed Wars, the Great Bed Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me, I talked the entirety of yesterday's tiers about Bedwar before Rabbit Dog arrived.
Oh my god.
And even when he arrived, because I didn't have anything else to say.
Was it just like the num the replays were just so by the numbers? It's just you like you just ended up like just talking about just Bed Wars.
No, it's not that the replays were bad. No, the replays were pretty good. I just had no idea what to talk about. And in the case of the fan game replay, which was Gods, I didn't even know the game.
Damn it.
And neither did Rabbit Dog.
You know, next time that I'm up, and like next time that you guys have a fan game, please just ping me, ask me if I can come on because I at least have just an iota little bit of knowledge over various different fan games.
Right, we'll do that. I mean, I did do tend to ping the entire commentator role.
Ah,
Right, last spell time. Now I'm gonna start keeping track of them.
hmm. Well, I mean, these ones are pretty easy to like keep track of anyway.
Yeah. And I mean, these ones you also don't need to practice for a valid LNB, but if you watch people stream Touhou, you'll probably learn how to do them anyways.
Hmm. I mean, that's pretty good anyway if you're like trying to go for like full spell or scoring. So
Yeah, for full spells you will have to practice them a bit, but if you're just going for a standard LNB, you might do them if you remember how the streamers you watch do them, or how the replays on TRS do them. So if you don't want to miss how to do last spells in 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 replays that capture all of them, make sure to follow so you don't miss the next one, and also join the Discord server where you get pinged, where you can get pinged every time a TRS happens.
you know, the way that you just completely expressed that made me think you were trying to like call someone out.
No, I'm just a sellout.
uh,
I do know this one particular streamer who's like whose profession it is to sell out.
goodness. Oh god, someone like literally like caught up with you, like say, or at least download the replays.
Right, that was Imperishable Night. I got pinged. Right, who the hell pinged me? Okay, but I'm going to be delaying Hakurai League 2 indefinitely. Okay. So to those watching
Wow.
TRS who haven't seen the announcement on the server, Hakurai League 2 will be delayed indefinitely. More infos on the Hakurai League Discord
Ooh.
server.
Ooh.
Next replay,
Well, what?
Great Fairy War.
How great.
I think it's actually a score run from a pretty good player. We don't want to
Ooh.
disrespect that.
Ooh.
It's from a
I mean, like, I'm looking at like the player name right here. It's just Japanese.
I mean
I've kind of I've been slacking on my learning of the language lately.
you can just call him Boinst.
Points.
Yeah, that's what he says in the comment.
Oh.
This is a no, this is a survival run.
Okay, Creston.
Hi Crested. I'm
Hello.
going to show this Great Fairy Wars replay and then we'll watch the fan game run.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Well, what I know is his name is actually Boinst.
Right, to launch the game. That's loud.
I'll,
Right, so this is not the right game capture to use. This is the right one. And this is the first GFW replay I've ever had.
Congratulations, your replay folder for GFW is now like one replay richer.
I guess,
You okay?
I don't know what happened to him. Oh. So
Alright,
yeah, GFW LNN is a category that it's like it's a strange LNN because it's very puzzle oriented. There's really like, how do I put it? It's not like regular Touhou games where like you have to figure out and then you just have to dodge and put in attempts and stuff. Like this game's more about knowing when to freeze, where to freeze. There are particular strategies that aren't immediately obvious on the first playthrough, and getting an LNN in this game is considered like easier than most LNNs in regular Touhou, but in its own way, it's also very special.
Like, I guess, like, the way that you said it, from, like, all the replays I recall seeing of a GFW, including, like, trying to play it myself, it is a bit more of a puzzle to really solve it than to just, like, just try and, like,
Oh, yeah,
run it more predictable.
there's really not a lot of possibility to gorilla this game. I mean, just looking at the stage itself, you can already tell that if you just don't know what you're doing and go into it, you're gonna die really hard. And you are going to have to rely on your freeze to clear out many of the stage sections and boss attacks. What else? LNN has this thing where we did have GFW as a survival category in TWC, and one thing that was done by two of the players was that they were intentionally stalling some attacks just so that they could get more freeze area. This is because your shot power is directly tied to how much of the screen you're frozen, cumulatively. So, if your frozen area goes above a certain percentage, then you'll level up and your shot will upgrade as well. If your shot isn't high enough level, you're going to really suffer on some late game patterns because you're just going to have to dodge a lot more. So, yeah, we're going to... Maybe we might see some stalling just to get some extra freeze, we might not. It's really up to the player. What we did see on TWC that we're not going to see here though is gold medals, which is not very possible for all of the spells, but many of the spells actually surprisingly do have ways to solve them, but some of them are just dumb and RNG and bullshit, so yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess, like, just taking a look at, like, the schedule right here, it's basically no miss, no bomb, full spell, so...
Yeah, this is just an LNN run of a regular LNN run that just uses freezes all over the place, which is
Yeah.
very standard of a GFW LNN.
Though silver medal is also gonna count as a spell cap.
Captures, yeah. A spell cap is, like, I mean, only when you fail a spell either by bombing or dying, then you get a bronze medal, which doesn't count. Now, GFW Survival is a cool category, and it has quite a lot of depth on its own. Scoring and survival are two different kinds of approaches in this game, so both are perfectly valid.
Also, yes, no freeze is a category, but on any difficulty above easy, it's TAS only.
And I do have a Lunatic task of A1, and Kirby Comment has made several tasks of this game which are also no freeze, but honestly speaking, aside from just looking at the dumb down Marco and how you pass dodge them, there's really not much to it. You can't freeze the fireballs, yeah. That's a design element that really makes this game just work in the late game, otherwise you just freeze everything and just kind of ignore it.
Yeah, because the fireballs are hot.
You'd think that, but apparently if you just bomb, you can freeze them anyway.
Yeah, because the bomb ice is just as cold.
Stage 3 will then introduce a final mechanic, which is lasers, which not only can't be frozen, but if you have any ice over the area they travel through, then the ice will break into shards, which are just small bullets, which can kill you, but can also be frozen.
That sounds honestly really crazy. Like, just like it's like you have your ice break, and then it's like you either bomb or like pull off like a freeze, and then it's just you freeze them back anyway. But wouldn't the lasers still go through the ice that you just made yourself?
Oh yeah, one thing that isn't really shown in like most Touhou games, but it's more apparent in GFW is that you have iframes during dialogue. Like your character is completely invincible. This is true for most of the modern Touhou games, including GFW onwards. I can't remember exactly which game it started though.
I didn't. I didn't even know about the laser mechanics before today.
What? Okay. This spell
okay.
is, you need to freeze at a certain pattern, otherwise you're just gonna get overwhelmed with just Mentos bullshit. This is one of the spells that's not very doable for, LNN.
This comment right here. GFW is a Daifu Katsu fan game, which makes it good, lol.
Okay. Yeah, this pattern you just... If you don't freeze this, it's still dodgeable, but it becomes very RNG. Because you end up having to dodge a dense ring of Mentos, which don't always give you the best angles. And the angle of the gap between the fireballs is also random. It's somewhat aimed, but there's a random angle offset. And then the final is just kind of aim stuff. You freeze it when you have to restream. Yeah, fairly straightforward.
Yeah, so far so good.
A2 is considered the... I believe either the easiest or the second easiest survival difficulty, whereas either a B2 or C1 is the hardest, I think. Can't remember exactly which one. But A routes are generally the easier than routes.
Huh. I mean, I guess that would just kind of make sense considering, like,
Plus,
you know, the general
I'm...
boss order that follows.
Well, scoring, I'm not too sure. I can have a look at it right now. Well, scoring, the highest scoring route is A2 as well, followed by A1, which is unfortunate because that means that the A routes actually are the most efficient routes for both scoring and survival. But that doesn't mean that people don't play the other routes, of course. Just
that like way that he survived like that previous enemy wave was just funny. And also, yeah, there you go. There's that laser.
Yep, that's a shot. Yeah.
Mechanic.
So
Yeah,
it's pretty much just two ways to go about it. Here he just speed killed the spell because if you just do that, then the spell dies before it poses any threat. But either you freeze strategically to avoid getting it broken by any lasers, or you try to freeze in such a way that the lasers don't affect you too much. Because the biggest problem is if you're freezing and then a laser gets goes like very close to where you are. Of course, you can dodge the laser, but the problem is then the random pellet spam that emits from the ice that it broke. That is very easy to kill you with. Very random. So that's something that they want to avoid as much as possible.
I mean, I will say this: the way that they froze him in order for like the pellets to like spawn as close to the boss as possible. I was thinking that he was gonna freeze him to like just sort of prove that point about how you said before that you can also freeze the shards.
I mean, there was no point there. It was clearly ruled to be a speed kill, and yeah, you can see here that Chirno has no hitbox during the dialogue. So Star as the final boss is okay. I don't know how to put it. The waves, the QED waves are fairly easy to just freeze. You dodge through one wave, or sometimes you don't even have to dodge through one wave.
Well, I mean, it seems like just taking care of like Sonny on that one side just made things a hell of a lot more bearable.
Alright, triple meteor. just simple screaming and then freezing. This is very straightforward. On the final boss, you can kill both Sunny and Luna here. Well, whoever's not like the final boss or the host of the stage. That's the final stage. Um, so if you kill them, then they'll just retreat off the screen and they'll stop firing. Uh, which is usually good.
Usually?
You
I mean, I guess I'll just say this. Also, the thing that just kind of interests me is that, like, for each route, like, the host of the stage is completely different per route, but is, like, usually consistent within the realms of that, like, lettered route.
something like that. Alright, just breathe this and then you can ignore everything that Sunny and Luna fires. Okay, Orion Belt is strange because this is also a spell where a freeze mechanic is more apparent, where if you graze, you actually regain your charge faster. It's pretty important on this spell to make sure that you get your charge back in time. And now he's hit maximum level, which fires off this omnidirectional icicle thing, which is pretty pointless actually.
I mean, yeah,
Strictly speaking, max level does do slightly less damage than the level before it, but it's not like you're gonna be able to stay on the level before it for very much.
like, honestly, like, the only usage I think, like, that, you know, multi-directional shot can have is, like, if you can, like, shotgun on top of the boss, but it's like you barely get that opportunity in this game, so, like...
The one thing I could think of is that for scoring, when you hit the boss, no matter with how many shots, you're gonna regain more charge faster. So, if you're going to hit the boss, like, and do as little damage as possible, you either hit with the side of your shot or you try to hit with the omnidirectional thing, but it's not very practical, so usually they just hit with the side of their shot anyway. Alright, the final spell here is just, the previous spell, Fairy Overdrive, is just rooting with some random dodging, but here, you need to plan when you freeze. Because what will happen is that the boss in the middle, in this case Star, will start emitting a wave of like a red circle around her. And during that red aura, if any bullets enter it, they will convert into a massive amount of fireball spam, which is very random. Which is bad. So you plan your freezes to make sure that you prevent any bullets from going in there. And that's it. Very nice and clean other than the...
Yeah. Very squeaky clean.
Alright, it is now, we'll now show the fan game runs. It's at the end of the schedule, but I'll show it now in case Crescent goes to sleep during this TRS.
Yeah.
Also, again, Crescent, I've already mentioned it before in the stream here, but only reason I'm up right now is just because I'm working at home tomorrow, so I figured, like, hey, a little late night DRS.
Blue Devil in the Belvedere. So this game has been shown on TRS before for survival, but never for scoring, so this will be interesting. And yeah, you can try to adjust the HUD. The left side is just aesthetic.
Yeah. Yeah, this works.
Yeah, good enough. This game's in a 4:3 ratio, so it's pretty awkward to adjust for. No, sorry, this game's in a 16:9 ratio, so it's pretty awkward to adjust for regular Touhou standards.
I mean, there is a 16:9 mode, but, like, this guy just seems to be going by the regular 4:3.
This is a score run.
Yes.
So, is that the final score that we're anticipating on the high score tab?
Yeah, that's it. That's his PB. So,
Nice.
Okay, then.
for a reference, if I can find Lidera's tweet on it, he's been playing down Markaimo. The world record, the highest level world record that is publicly known for this game, set by Lidera, Reimu Lunatic, 60.45 billion. So this is about 5 billion below that. Uh, yeah, Lidera is just kind of insane. uh, Ever since the game came out, he just kept going at it. Um, when the game was released, okay, I guess I should start talking about the game. But when the game was released, immediately the thing that caught people's attention, there was an achievement to get 30 billion in the game, which is not easy because if you do a regular element of the game, and you do like basic optimal scoring strategies, or rather survival strategies, you're going to find that you can only really hit like 25 bill or so. So you do have to do some extra optimizations to make sure you get just that extra PIV and why is the video lagging so much?
Hmm. That's a good question.
I think this is the highest quality I'm gonna be able to get. Or maybe 480p will also work. Because-
Whatever. Okay. So this game's scoring system, there's pretty much two elements you pay attention to for every stage. There's the chain meter, which is below the PIV. The chain meter affects the multiplier that you get on your PIV, but it resets at the start of every stage. The chain increases just by killing stage enemies. So for stages, you need to make sure that you kill as many stage enemies as possible. And for PIV, you can increase it by grazing, by collecting the crystals, and by collecting cancel items. But not during spell cards. Cancel items during spell cards will not count for anything. And so what you're seeing now is some fairly basic, just optimal cancel farming and grazing on that spell. So the stream quality is pretty awful, not gonna lie, but
Maybe we should have done it like the classic way, but
the other thing about this game is that it has a hyper system, as we've mentioned before on previous runs. The hyper system was never used on Perma's LNN run because, I mean, it's no hyper. But the hyper buffs up your shot fairly significantly, but it also buffs up enemy attacks fairly significantly. The catch, it doesn't last forever. It lasts for a very short fairly short amount of time, and in order to get it back, you have to get crystals. You get crystals by either killing enemies with a red magic aura around them, or by filling up the power rank meter. And the power rank meter fills up by grazing, shooting bosses, collecting items. That's it. So, in order to get his hyper back as often as possible, he will be grazing pretty much everything as much as possible. Now, one thing that is probably pretty infamous by now, this game's scoring system and general gameplay design was done under the advice of LYX, who is pretty notorious for designing many other LNN focused scoring systems, which he really does not like the idea of giving out spell card bonuses and trading away resources to get more score, which is why FDF2 really severely punishes you every time you break a border, bomb, or die, and EIOS similarly so. This game, however, is the one thing that he failed at pretty badly, because what ended up happening is that PIV is so important, especially with this multiplier. While you cannot increase the multiplier past the preset amount of stage enemies there are, you can increase the PIV as long as you graze as much as possible, as long as you cancel as much as possible. Even though cancel items don't give any PIV during spell cards, that doesn't mean that, I mean, graze still does. So, I mean, you're seeing right now that he is just spending hypers during spell cards, which fails the spell, just to make sure that he's in hyper mode and to get iframes at the grace. It's pretty insane. So this game ends up being a very grace heavy game. Also, you can get hit during a hyper and not like lose the hyper immediately. With Reimu, you can actually get hit 3 times before you lose the hyper completely. But if you get hit during a hyper, the amount of crystals you get back after the hyper will decrease. So then you have to put in more work just to get back to a hyper state. For stage 1, you don't care about spell card bonuses. The spell card bonuses are huge in this game, especially in stage 6. If you capture a spell card in hyper mode, which means that you have to enter the spell card with hyper mode and then not have it run out through the entire duration, you get you get the spell card bonus times 2, and then you get a point items worth twice the multiplier times PIV, of course. So your point items will be worth like way more than usual. So it's like really important that you basically capture every single spell in stage 6 on hyper. So this game does have very high survival requirements for the game. And yeah, getting hit during a hyper, items will auto collect. But you see right now that the items will have an orange border around them. That's to indicate that you are getting a double multiplier bonus. But if you get hit once, then it converts into a yellow border, which only has the single multiplier bonus, and if you get hit again, then there'll be white, which means that you don't get any multiplier bonuses, so it's just PIV. On boss attacks, on boss attacks, the items that drop are based on the status of your spell cap. So if you hyper capture the spell, it's orange. If you capture the spell normally, it's yellow. And if you get hit, it's white. So it's really painful to get hit during any boss spells in late game. If I'm not wrong, what you're going to see at the end of this stage is that he's going to give up resources on the final spell, just to grace. This game does have limited number of lives. It's directly tied to a number of point items you collect, and there are limited of those. But I mean, life don't have exactly very high clear bonuses in this game, so you will be spending them to get more PIV. It's just worth that much more.
I mean, it was kind of nutty because he already kind of spent a life in stage 1.
Yeah. Okay, so Reimu, I guess I'll talk about Reimu's shot type now. Reimu is the weakest shot type in this game. If you shotgun, her damage isn't too bad, but if you're at a distance, her damage is like the weakest in the game. So she does have some problems. But she is also the only shot type to get double PIV from grazing. Other shot types to get 10 PIV per 10 graze. No, sorry. Other shot types will get 10 PIV from 1 graze. This shot type will get 20. Marissa has the highest firepower in the game but has no range. But she gets 20 PIV from every cancel item as opposed to 10. And Sakuya has the Ketsui style lock-on shot and is like fairly strong, even more so if you shotgun. But she will get about 66% more PIV from crystals than other characters. Ultimately, I mean, if you look at the numbers right now, he has like 14,000 bullet cancels, but 36,000 graze. There will always be far more graze than bullet cancels and crystals. So Reimu is the best scoring shot. For main game anyway. For extra, it's a different story. Marissa is the best scoring shot for extra.
Rips up, yeah.
I mean, crystals just aren't worth very much to begin with, and you can't really farm too many crystals anyway. Alright, he's gonna grace the spell, and then he's gonna hyper grace the spell. When you start a hyper, you have some iframes, so you can abuse those to grace. And then when you break, when you get hit during a hyper, you get a few more iframes, so you can also use that to graze. But of course, you ideally don't want to break your hyper too early, because then you won't have even the hyper pattern to work with anymore. Like that.
Wow.
But in this case, he's just going to... I believe that he did still get a hyper pattern for the next wave, so he's just gonna abuse that and get a good cancel. And then after that, use the hyper iframes to do some more grazing.
I mean, to be fair, sure, this game may fail, like, doing, like, an LNN-based scoring system, but honestly, like, seeing these grazes is, like, super
I mean, yeah,
crazy.
no shit, these grazes are really interesting in and of themselves, so I personally, and I think it's a fairly common idea that we don't really understand why LLX was so obsessed with making an LLN focused system, but if he really wanted to, he could have very easily made it like FDF2 style, but I think this ends up being a much more interesting product than FDF2 scoring. I'm not gonna lie, like FDF2 scoring just feels pretty limited. Okay, so this that spell just now, when you kill the fairies, they drop crystals, so you want to farm as many crystals as possible, but enemies will also transfer some damage to the boss, so there's a limited number of fairies you can kill. Okay, you get a good cancel there, and then the final spell... Yeah. What? Oh, he skips it?
Oh.
Okay, I guess the strat's changed.
Oh well. Does he at least spin around Altamina?
No, you definitely have to spin around Altamina for the next stage. That way you get your hyper back.
Oh yeah, just to just mention this, like you spin around this boss here, it's like she'll literally drop items if you do
She'll
that.
drop an extra full crystal if you do that. It's like an Easter egg. But yeah, he's gonna save the hyper until the next section because it's not really worth to spend your hyper time on that. There's a lot of like just nothing time that your hyper's not gonna be able to do anything. It's overall just a net loss.
Yeah. Alright. So
stage,
far this...
stage 3 is almost entirely just streaming, so there's really nothing interesting. Apart from these fairies, that you can get like good cancels off of them, that's about it. What are you saying?
I was just saying, like, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, most of the stage just seems like generally streaming for a little bit.
Yeah. The stage design in this game is a little lackluster at times. But, I think especially towards late game, the hyper timings on the stages become, like, pretty interesting. So, while this is pretty boring, it's only gonna last for a little bit. Alright, just to preempt what's going to happen during the boss fight. In the latest version of the route that I watched from Lidera, which was like 45 build, I think, he was spending resources and really milking the hell out of almost every single spell on the stage 3 boss. It's a very interesting boss fight to watch, so we're gonna see what he does.
Green.
Oh my god, 32 scream is just too laggy. Hang on, I'm going to find the run myself. Instinct done.
I mean, I would encourage you to just find the run yourself so I can stop streaming on Discord for a while.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah. Hang on. Crescent, if you find the video, can you just put the link in the thing? Or I can just go to, or I can just go to TLC and just find it myself there.
He's at like almost 15 minutes. Alright,
Okay.
first spell has lasers. Lasers are very good for graze in this game, so you want to graze them. On normal, the route that I saw was that you do want to spawn point graze these lasers in hyper. Yeah, that looks about right. Oh, that cancel was bad though. That's a pretty bad cancel. He probably lost hyper on this pattern because of that. Okay, that's pretty bad. Right, second spell isn't really very farmable. The grace on this spell is like not very feasible, so you just kill this. But not hyper capping it seems reasonable as well, because the next non-spell will be worth like more. Golden Capital. What is that? Oh, right. Spawn point grade.
Okay, he just fell asleep on the book, and that's just getting him a lot of grace.
It's like 300 grace away. If you bomb, then you lose your grace box. So you can't grace after you start the bomb, but you can like use the time before you start the bomb and the death bomb window to grace. So there is at least that. Is he gonna farm the final? I think he probably will be farming the final at least. Yeah, there you go. You can do that, and then there's lasers coming from the book, so you grace that. It just so happens that if you kill all of these spirits, then the wave off of the lasers will be nice as well. But if you don't, this happens. But that's worth more grace. What happens on normal? At least what I did on normal was that I just suicided on this spell a lot. And I bombed like a lot on this spell as well, because you pretty much won't be able to get back into hyper once you lose it. So if you bomb, then you can at least still graze the start. You can still graze this like wave of stars. Good. So yeah, this is how you milk the stage 3 boss. Stage 4 will have... From stage 4 onwards, we're going to start focusing on spell caps more than milking. This is the point where you start cashing in, and it's... I mean, the spell cap bonuses get pretty huge. Yes, he has like 10.8 build now. It's going to... This stage alone is going to make his score explode.
Ooh, this is gonna be fun to watch then.
First of all, this stage is very cave.
I can already tell with like how much like streaming there is right around.
White streaming, and then it's going to be like little cave bullets. Yep. Okay, so this stage is the start of where the hyper timing really matters. Where if you get good hyper timing, you're going to get a lot of like score just from the items. Remember, the items are going to be worth like twice the multiplier. So while the multiplier right now is fairly small, you can increase the multiplier more by killing enemies in hyper. And the PIV itself is already pretty high at this point, so every point item is worth like a lot.
It's already at like 14 bill right now.
Yeah. And this is only half the stage. We haven't even gotten to the second half of the stage where the PIV is really going to explode.
Wow.
What? That's a safe
What is
spot?
this?
Yeah.
What is this? That is an
I did
amazing
not
safe
know
spot
about
right
this.
there.
Holy shit.
It looks like
I guess the flowers aimed.
yeah, it looks like they're aimed, but they're only aimed once for the entire pattern.
Yeah. So... Okay, wow. Alright, that section, the postman boss section, that isn't really something you want to hyper because, again, there's a lot of downtime and you won't be able to get your hyper back in a very nice fashion. So you save your hyper until this section where you just don't want to move too much, otherwise you'll wall yourself. And with that, he's going to be able to get his hyper back pretty easily once this one runs out. Right? Yeah.
Alright.
One thing that can really happen and it's really annoying is that sometimes you think that you're going to get a hyper and you are going to get a hyper really soon, but before you get a crystal you press X and then you bomb instead. Which is really bad because that bombing makes all the crystals on screen disappear and then you lose a hyper level. So
Goodness.
alright, good cancels. More hyper kills. The score's at 24 billion already.
It's like
That's
it
still the
took him
final
three-
section.
It took him 3 stages to get to 10 billion, and this one stage is just giving him like,
More than double that already.
yeah.
16 bill. And we haven't even done the boss fight yet. You're really going to see how big the spell card bonuses are.
Oh boy.
Alright, first non-spell, get a good cancel, grace, get your hyper back by the end of the spell. I mean, it's not really hard to do that to begin with. By killing a non-spell, it will always drop a crystal, so you're almost always going to be able to get that. You can see just how late you can activate the hyper. Like, you can actually get it even later than that, and then it still doesn't fill the spell card bonuses. Pretty much before the spell card bonus shows up, like on the HUD, you can still start your hyper. But you pretty much won't be able to cancel any bullets of the spell itself, so it's just how much time you give yourself to kill the spell, and how much you want to milk it, I guess. 108! 108 mil for one spell, and that doesn't even count the items. The items are really the bulk of the skull. We can
Yeah,
see right
just-
now he has like almost 3 mil score, and the multiplier is at 4.3. So that's like 12 mil per item, per point item, for a normal capture. For a double capture, that's almost 24 mil. And each pattern drops like 15 items or so, I think. So that is a lot of score. And you lose half of that if you get a hit. So that's also great. Right. During timeout in this game, your hyper gauge gets frozen, so he doesn't have to worry about the hyper timing out. And on the final part of this spell, you can just kind of dash up and get more grace, but he didn't do that for safety, I guess. Alright, Zeus Is Thunderbolt. He isn't going to hyper this spell. The hyper version of this spell is fairly difficult nowadays. In the beta versions and in the initial release, the lightning effect itself didn't even have a hitbox. Well, it was supposed to have, but I think there was a bug that prevented it from having a hitbox. But nowadays, the hyper version of the spell is pretty hard, and the timing isn't very nice to get it either. But here comes the final, and this is really where your PIV is going to completely go bonkers. There is a safe spot here, even though the boss is firing penalty bullets.
Yeah, the point value is increasing just stupidly.
Yes.
Rapidly.
The only thing that can hit you is the random fireball lanes. That's it. Nothing else. But if you get hit, just go to the center and then sacrifice yourself to get more iframes and then hyper again. Um, when I did normal 30 build run, I actually saved up a bunch of lives just to like small point grace that spell more. Because you do get more grace if you like point blank grace it. But evidently there's been a lot of optimizations and you can get more grace out of the earlier stages, so yeah, the PIV just got the 3.5 bill, and he will be getting his remaining score from these last two stages. There will be very little milking of the last two stages if I'm not wrong. The patterns get pretty hard, especially on Hyper, so you pretty much want to just focus on staying alive, not getting hit, and then collecting, killing enemies and collecting items. Oh, spooky dodge. This stage is another one that's almost all aimed, so you can see him just grazing slowly. Hyper again. You do not want to get hit here, regardless. And he's going to have 2% on his hyper left for the timeout mid-boss. The timeout itself is pretty easy though, so nothing much to worry. Why did you do that? What?
Whoa.
That spell is usually just static and aimed, so I don't know why that rule looks so spooky.
Maybe he was feeling a little bit ballsy?
Maybe he's just used to it, I'm not sure. This post mid-boss section, if you kill one of these enemies, then all of them will die in the chain, but doesn't really matter too much. You're not really going for the crystals either way. And he's gonna get hyper back for Lycanthropia. Lycanthropia is a terrifying boss. Especially on hyper, she has some patterns which are quite hard. So we're gonna see them. I'm curious how many of them will capture. Yeah, just get some extra.
Ooh.
Not great, but whatever. He can kill the spell for hyper runs out at least. And he should be able to get his hyper back very easily. Yep, there you go. So yeah, this non, you will have to dodge between the rings for 2 waves. Which is always terrifying. Alright, this pattern is really hard. It is static to an extent, but the problem with this spell is that Lycanthropia will constantly be moving towards you because she doesn't move back in position after the rifts fold in, so she's constantly moving towards you, so the longer it gets, especially on hyper.
Yeah, jeez.
Alright, this spell is it looks completely terrifying like this, but Reimu thankfully has homing shots to help take care of it. Sakuya has a lock shot as well, and Marissa just kind of has pain.
Honestly, it's like you say that Raymond's the weakest shot in terms of the game, but like, I mean, for the main game, the homing is just stupidly helpful.
On stages, the homing really does help a lot, yeah. It's like a comfortable stage shot, but your damage will... your damage is really like not the best for bosses. Alright, the final spell is pretty easy actually, so... yeah, the only concern is really if you're going to be able to kill the spell in time. Because this spell does have a lot of HP and your hyper gauge has the chance to run out if you aren't like fast enough with your damage output. 1%. And he's going to hyper right at the start, right at the end there, because the start of the next stage is going to immediately start spamming enemies, so that's a perfectly fine decision. But yeah, that was a perfect Lycanropia fight. And his score has ballooned to 39.7 billion.
Yeah, like definitely far beyond the 30 billion that the devs projected.
And now to finish off the run we have Sonia. We now have 4 million PIV, and this stage is going to have a shit ton of multiplier. First off, you can grace the Yarnmoth a little bit more, but at this point, you've got almost all the PIV you need. You're gonna get even more because of the bullet cancels on this stage, which are pretty huge.
God, I love how you just like bash through the window right there. Just
Yeah, it's a cool
seamless,
animation.
right?
Alright, I don't know how anyone does section comfortably, but I guess that's that. And then, for this part, everything's aimed, so you figure out a strat that's comfortable for you. Theoretically speaking, if you stall the kills on these fairies, you can get bigger cancels, but on Lunatic, I think it's a little too hard to do that realistically. You can do it on lower difficulties though.
Yeah, I think I remember early on that people were saying like this game's Lunatic was just hella ridiculous, and it's like
That's
the same
because hyper, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, for one, this game's patterns are very blind unfriendly. Many of them are blind killers. But there's also a lot of pattern to them, so we're going to see the Sonia Nons now. Sonia Nons were infamous on game release for being just stupidly difficult. These are not easy. These are really hard Nons. Yeah. Wow. Okay, that's pretty bad. That he didn't get hyper for this spell.
Damn.
Oh, that's actually pretty painful.
I mean, he seems to be doing well capturing it, but yeah, pretty.
Yeah, but you lose like twice the score from that, so you lose literally half your score, so that's like pretty bad. Just simple mistakes like that, just one hit, and you lose a shit ton of score down the line. Thankfully, it's recoverable, but still not something you want to happen this late in the run, especially when your score count bonus are this huge now. Right, just interesting.
I mean, I like the knife spin.
It's a static, so you just figure out how to dodge it and then you're golden. Get a good bullet cancel there as well. And then the next non is one where you have to do a little misdirecting if you want to capture it. But I guess he's just gonna hyper. Oh!
Oh.
He can get a good cancel. Is he gonna live until he gets the cancel? No. Okay, that's
Damn.
really bad as well. Because this spell is definitely not going to get a hyper. But this spell is also a fairly comfortable hyper capture, so that also hurts a lot. Alright, the survival spell is very interesting because there's two ways of dealing with the blue spirits. Either by shooting them or by disconnecting all the lines from them. And if you disconnect the blue spirits, then completely, then they'll disappear and they won't fire off any bloods, which reduces the difficulty of the spell. You will really need to eliminate a lot of the blue spirits on the later waves. Especially the final wave where you will have to eliminate almost all of the blue spirits, save for one. That's the margin for error you have. There's an achievement in this game to capture the spell on any difficulty, but not by not shooting at all. So here's the final wave. You have 6 seconds to get as many blue spirits as you can. So this is how he does it. Yeah, barely gets it in time. And then you just stay in the middle.
Oh.
Alright, that's a good capture there. Hyper capture even. But now we enter the final 3 patterns in the game and you will be stuck in constant hyper mode. If you get hit, you will fail the spell. But instead of dying, you'll just lose instead of breaking a hyper, because you're stuck in permanent hyper, you'll just lose a bomb instead. So that will fuck up your clear bonus a bit. It's not that important, but it will fuck up your clear bonus a bit. The other thing is that collecting crystals, which constantly drop now, will release a small cancel aura around you, which will cancel bullets. So you have to use that in order to cancel the laser, which is constantly moving in your direction. Ah! No!
Oh. That's a big chunk.
This spell is pretty important capture. Oh, that sucks. But if this is how the run's going, then I predict that he's not gonna capture the final either. Before that, the final non is the hardest attack in the second hardest attack in the game. It's almost completely static, but it's also insanely root heavy. So if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get hit multiple times on this pattern. Like that. Alright, the final spell now. This has 2 phases. The first phase is very similar to the previous spell, where you have to collect these crystals in order to cancel what would otherwise be an undodgeable wall of bullets coming at you. The problem is that this spell will fire penalty walls at you if you move too high on the screen, which is like only a third of the way up the screen, so you really don't have a lot of vertical space to maneuver around, which makes this spell a lot more uncomfortable than it looks.
Jeez.
Second phase is bullshit. It's too damn hard. This is the hardest attack in the game by far.
Devil's reincarnation, but with extra bullshit.
The really ironic thing is that this pattern has like 30 blue items behind it. So if you get hit during this, you lose a shit ton of score. But at the same time, who's going to capture this? Well, I guess he's going to capture it. That's an amazing capture.
Jeez.
And for that, he gets 25 mil per item. So that's a huge spell card bonus. That's like, yeah, that was like 3 billion in its own. With the final clear bonus of like 890 mil, almost a billion, that's 55.8 billion score.
GG's.
That's an amazing run.
Yeah,
Really good survival play. Some fuck ups on the Sonya fight. If you got your hyper captures on those 2 spells, that's like 57, 58 build easily. And then just a couple more optimizations, less fuck-ups here and there, you can get 60 bill as well. But yeah, this game's scoring really ballooned. On release, people were struggling to get 30 bill. Now, I mean, Ladera got 60 bill already. That's like double the score. It's a really interesting
Ooh.
score game, and honestly, I'm really glad that because initially LYX, in response to seeing these sorts of scoring strats, he was really wanting to like get an update to the game to fix, first to patch out the stage 4 final grace, and then to fix up the scoring system somehow to prevent this kind of stuff. But the team disbanded before he had the chance to do that, over some other issues. So the game scoring is just like that now, and it's honestly a really good scoring system in and of itself.
That was a pretty good run. GG.
Yeah.
uh, like, yeah, that run just was like, I was just on my seat that entire time.
It's really like impressive just how far fan game scoring has gone, especially for like, I mean, it's a really high quality fan game, but this isn't the sort of thing that we're really used to. Fan game scoring isn't really something that people go for too often. But if you have a good scoring system, people will go for scoring, I guess. So
Ooh.
Alright, on to the next game. Perfect Cherry Blossom.
Alright. I think this might actually be where I did them because it's like 2 a.m. over here. So you guys take care, and I hope the rest of the show goes really well. Also, there's been some really great replays so far. So yeah, because we're
yeah, I
really.
think I'm actually gonna have to go too. Oof.
Alright, sorry for A2.
Okay.
See if you can get someone else in. But
Yeah.
see you guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, I am back to being all on my own. The next replay we have on our schedule is Streets No Focus Perfect Cherry Blossom Run. I am going to start stage 3 in boss fight only mode and then play stage 4 in boss only mode as well. And then play stage 5 normally because speed up just doesn't work for me. So I guess I'm showing Alice as well. Now, no focus is kind of it is a bit of a meme category, so I'm gonna treat this one as a bit of a meme, while also appreciating some nice no focus gameplay. Now, Marissa A is a pretty good shot type in PCP. It's also pretty powerful, both unfocused and focused, but she's very fast. Marissa is always the faster shot type, which is actually bad for a game like Touhou where you're supposed to be where being slow is better for all the micro dodging. But on the other hand, Raymond PCB is just way too slow. So, and this is also Lunatic, like he's playing with Marissa unfocused speed on Lunatic through the whole game. I think he's gonna deal decent damage with those Christmas trees. Right, so about Street, he's a meme lord. Yeah, that's basically all I know about him. But he's also a PCB score runner. Yeah, that border break, that was pretty necessary because you have to do some pretty tight dodges on this spell. This none wasn't an issue because it just dies fast. And another border, so that's one free hit on this spell as well. But he's doing some pretty tight things with this speed, and didn't even break the border, which is a cap spell card bonus. But the other thing about being unfocused in PCB is that it's very important for scoring. I have That's a rip. I've already forgotten how, because I've already forgotten the PCP scoring system because it's a bit complicated, but being able to dodge unfocus so you can graze unfocus is actually very important to PCP scoring. So Street, who is a PCP score runner, should be familiar with that already. Might have also just been a meme practice run that he submitted to TRS for the memes because he's a bit of a meme lord. Or well, to get into Touhou, yeah, I'll have to be a bit of a meme lord. I mean, on this stage, I don't think... Yeah, so far there's a lot of streaming, so I don't think it's gonna matter too much about being unfocused, but once we reach Lily White, which is gonna be shown in full speed because of boss mode, yeah, that's gonna be a bit interesting. But you can misdirect the whole pattern and even get all this unfocused grace. Yeah, he's getting a lot of borders because of the unfocused grace. Yeah, I think unfocused grazing gives you more borders, but I'm not really sure about that because because again I already forgot the PCB scoring system entirely. It's just too complicated. This section I would have actually liked to show. Oh, those are gonna be some tight dodges. Like really tight. I mean, you can basically imagine unfocused dodging with a really high speed to just be like really dense pattern. To be like dodging a really dense pattern. Like, you have to consider the pattern density to be much higher if you're this fast. Which is why you want to focus in Touhou. Which is why you want to sneak by holding the shift key. 3.2b. Don't think that will happen. But this run might actually score quite a bit because of all the unfocused grazing. Right, this pattern is really easy. Unfocusing doesn't really impact it. If you want, can... Yeah, I did mention it before, but yeah, good point. If you press down at the bottom, it's essentially a diagonal movement, but only only the horizontal component of the diagonal movement, which is then gonna make that movement slower. It also works on the sides, but I never see anyone side drag. Actually, I do. The Marissa safe spot in Touhou 8 has side dragging. And doesn't care to time out borders. I mean, he did time out a border on Alice, but it's probably because he was just too preoccupied with dodging. This is a meme run. This run is a bit of a meme. I mean, no focus is a bit of a meme anyways. So it's fair to call this a meme run, I think. 1.2 to 1.3. We'll see how good your prediction is. We shall see. You know what? I'm actually gonna drag the PCB window around a bit and then just watch in OBS. Hold on, I don't. So when I deselect the PCB window, it keeps playing, but when I drag it, that's when it's like that is when it pauses the game. Alright, something to consider. Oh, I'm still in boss mode. Yeah, I've been watching in boss mode the whole time. Don't really care. I'll just exit the replay in stage 6 and then watch that in normal game mode. Right. Yomu. Yomu has some really dense patterns where she slows you down. But you're gonna move a lot faster. Yeah, that's really fast. Yeah, this death was to be expected. Yeah, I think there might be a few deaths on Yoma because the patterns are really dense. Not even close. Second spell. This spell I'm not sure if slowing down even does anything. But Street does manage to dodge the sideways bullets. And that's really all there is to it. To this spell. And here you're gonna have things coming up from the bottom and the top part is just streaming. So it's really all about how he can micro dodge the bottom stuff. Ouch. Yeah, that got really dense there. On to the final spell. This one's also a bit dense. Yeah, PCB scoring is all about unfocused navigation to get unfocused grace. But I mentioned that earlier. Alright. Now I'm gonna play normal playback mode. Yeah, there is way more to it, but I just forgot all of it. Because I don't think I even really pay attention to PCB scoring explanations in the first place. But I never said that. No spam cap. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to jinx it. Right, pop quiz. Another death. Why do you always stop shooting on boss borders? Good question. So boss doesn't... You cannot gain any cherry. Wait, you cannot get cherry on spell cards? Alright. I mean, I'm not even sure what cherry is and how you gain it, but you can't gain it on spell cards. Okay, final boss. Good strategy. Good strategy there. I was gonna comment on that interpretation. Well, perhaps it's better. Perhaps it's better that way. I mean, I hope it's clear that I have no idea what I'm talking about, but just in case, don't actually listen to anything I have to say about PCP scoring. Okay, this is just some streaming. And if you have a really wide unfocused shot, this might actually just be a viable strategy to deal more damage by hitting more parts of the fan. That was a bit tricky there, but didn't even need to restream. Right. No spin. No spin. Alright, this is where you... Alright, this is the spell that you spin in the Scoron. I mean, this is probably gonna score more than the average Scoron, but this is not a Scoron, this is just a meme survival run. With no focus. And Christmas trees, lots of Christmas trees. To be fair, that spin is Cancer unfocused. I'll have to look at it, which I probably won't. Because by the time TRS is over, I'll just forget about it. The spell was the thing. And he doesn't he really seem to be affected by it. On to next non. Right, another... a bit more streaming. And he doesn't seem to be affected by this non either. Okay. This looks a lot like the standard scoring route, because this is essentially what you do in a standard score run. Except that I guess in a standard score run you would also time it down to get more grace, more unfocused grace. Right, final spell. And then the run is over. That's some denser dodging. Look, the run is over. Not. It reminds me, I haven't even done a Sans impression this whole stream. No. I mean, the chat message appeared on my end right before he died. So, which means that you jinxed it. Absolutely jinxed it. Yeah. That is basically the Caprot. Yeah. The end of an entire LNB with no focus. Right. Nice meme. Let's see. Your prediction was... yeah, that was a perfect prediction actually. 1.31 bill. Next, we have two undefined fantastic object runs in a row. So let's just run the game. Now I am using thgrep, but right before the stream I actually deleted all of my thgrep files and re-downloaded them. Replay. So we start with I'm gonna have to check which one we start with by checking the replay file. So we start with 2825, and it's one of the replays that I downloaded. Yes. Now the comment after replay says it's normal Sana B survival. My first 1cc of UFO. I died to things I shouldn't have died and survived to things I should have died to. This is just average 1cc performance. I mean, every 1cc goes exactly like that. This is as Sana B, which is a common 1cc shot because of the bomb. And also the spread shot is pretty good. Right, skips default, I think. I'll check that in the sheet once more. Yes, skips default. Alright. Stages 1 to 3 it is then. The entirety of it. Though Ich Unsen is pretty hard. But I'm gonna skip it anyways. $55. Yeah, we showed an entire fan game score on today, so yeah. That was pretty long. So I kinda wish to go through the other replays a bit faster. I mean, this is also a pretty hard spell, so I might wanna show a bit of that. Yeah, I've shown enough. 3 FPS. 3 FPS and stuck here forever. I think I sped up at the exact perfect time to cause a glitch like that. And I've never encountered that before. I think there might be something weird about UFO replacing TH crab. I'll have to look at that, but last time I said that I forgot about it and didn't look at that. Yeah, this is a good bomb. Because that spell is pretty hard. Like, you have the dense dodging, but you're also locked to the bottom because of the fists. Or not all the time at the bottom, but for quite a bit of time. Sometimes you just have to go all the way to the bottom and still dodge those bullets. But really, it doesn't matter how you perform on the stages from 1 to 3, because in stage 4 you're just gonna get max resources from all the UFOs you're gonna get. First rainbow UFO. So this is a rainbow. You can get a bunch of greens, and they would max out your bomb counter. If you die, you can just get a few reds, and you'll be back on max lives. Or almost max life exiting stage 4 is also good, but usually you'll be on max lives. Get the greens. Please get the greens. I think you should go for greens. Like, one green UFO gives you an entire bomb alongside a bomb piece. So you could genuinely get max resources here if you enter with max lives. The 1-ups do not get converted to bombs in UFO if you have max lives. Also, it's giving a bunch of blue UFOs. But even if you don't get max bombs, just having max lives and 0 bombs is also good. Hey, first green. And it's filled up. And you get to cancel this entire section too because of the green. Or are you going for the blue? Going for the blue. Do it. Go for the blue. Let's go. And another green. And another green. Now you have max lives, 4 bombs into this fight. And you'll probably leave with like 1 less than max lives and a few bombs. Maybe 3 or 2. That should be good for stage 5. And 6. Though on stage 6 you can get a lot of bombs on the Space Invaders section. Because it's just designed that way. First death. I mean, I can understand being careless at this point, but if you're too careless, these lives, they go away faster than you think. Sencho, never heard of that term. The final. I don't even remember what the final is. Another miss. Again, probably not good to be this careless. I mean, you have all the resources, but you shouldn't be so careless with them. I'm not even sure if this person is watching. But can I imagine this just being a very silent observer? These nuns do look a bit chaotic, I have to admit. So you might sometimes just not know if you should bomb on them or not, or if this is a good place to bomb or not. Whether, like, I know one of them is static. I think this is actually a pretty good bomb, even if the viewer just be starting to be impatient. Sinker Ghost. There's this square strat that you do on hard and lunatic, but on normal it's more of a triangle. Though at the moment this doesn't seem to resemble any shape, you're just doing whatever. Which also works. Maybe it didn't work out as I thought it would. Good bomb, perhaps. Alright. Well, that should be enough resources for stage 5. It's once again happened. 5 FPS, end of stage, and just nothing. Right, then I'll just open stage 5 like that. I'm not sure what happens here. Should probably look at this without TH crap. To see if it still occurs. Because I'm not sure what could be causing it. I could try with the application verifier, but the application verifier is probably gonna throw errors on a bunch of other unrelated issues to this, and then I can't continue because jankiness. When I tried it in Mountain of Fate, the application verifier would always throw errors in the same two places. And there were a lot of them, so it just took too long for me to just go through all of them. Right, red UFO. It's probably a good place for a red. You can get many reds here. But you got the blue. There's this whole meme about getting a blue when you wanted the red. Right, another red. This is gonna be another life. Yeah, you can also regenerate on some lives in stage 5. Just a normal thing to do. Right, show 7 to 1. You're being a bit careless again. I mean, theoretically, you could bomb everything. Yo. This is a pretty nice spell. Also a pretty nice spell to get walled on. Except if you did this, of course. I mean, if you have no bombs, you basically have no choice but to do this. Still, you can't really call it a wall if you can just phase through it. No safe spot strat, but this works too. Doesn't look too bad now that I'm actually looking at it instead of just watching the person spin around it. Racing spell. Right, so far in first place. They got a bit close, but you're still in first place. Right, that's a cap. Purification. I mean, you just ran into the bullets. I'm not sure what you were even trying to do there, but you just ran in there. Or the pressure just got to you, because you did reach stage 6 now. With no replay glitches involved. That's quite a lot. There's gonna be a lot of green UFOs in this stage probably, because this stage really wants you to get the bombs for be accurate. And another bomb. I mean, 5 to 1 is already quite a lot, but that's gonna be even more bombs, and this person is getting a lot of the Space Invader fairy kills. Alright, blue UFO, good decision. Red. No, you're just... Okay, it doesn't matter, because at this point you're probably not gonna get another UFO anyways. On to boss. The final boss of Space Invader. The world of drama is filled with light. Dravidog is not even here, and I'm once again doing the thing where I don't say anything for the entirety of the Biakran fight. I think that moment in last Sunday TRS single-handedly worsened the quality of it by only a little bit, because it was already bad. Lol. Right, it's called the Makai Butterfly. Maelstrom. But yeah, good bombs for here actually. Like, didn't even have to use a life to basically bomb everything. Absolutely, absolutely in the clear. Like these ones you see, they're either a one to see by a absolute massive landslide or barely make it. And this is one of those landslide ones you see. Yeah, game giving you a lot of resources. It's not a new game thing. UFO did it. People love it. I don't. I like the current day Touhou games that also give you a lot of resources. Good death bomb. And another bomb. 4-0 to saucer. I mean, this isn't saucer, but close enough. This is what we call the anti-jinx, where instead of things going the opposite way of what is happening, this is carelessness at its finest. It's still probably gonna be a landslide win, but fuck bomb shield, by the way. Yeah, fuck bomb shield. All my friends hate bomb shield. Fuck bomb shield. Of course you would. At least you're saying it in chat now. Yeah, fuck bomb shield. It did get close and did actually manage to be 0-0 at the end because fuck bomb shield. Right, GG. Right. Now onto looking what the next replay is called in the hex editor. Next replay. This one is NBNV. Not no vertical, because that's even more of a meme than no focus. Though I think I've seen an NBNV from the same player already. Right, the skips are default. Alright. Right, the comment says, "Holy shit! I actually did the hardest one to see according to the sheet. I can't believe it. I worked for it more. I worked on it more than on anything else before. Good game if you actually got it. But we'll have to see if at the end of the replay NBNVs are always like they're usually pretty close ones, like pretty close ones you see, because you don't have a lot of lives to work with to begin with, so you can't get those landslide victories with 2 lives remaining. No, 2 lives would actually be pretty normal. I mean, like landslide victory with like full lives. I mean, there are plenty of hard parts where you can lose a life and you don't have many to work with, so it's probably gonna be pretty close. Or there are just no deaths until stage 6. In that case, it's a landslide. Actually, this is probably something I should have saved for Saturday tier, so Gastari would see it. I mean, look, you couldn't bully him with it because he has UFO, LNB, and V, but he could commentate on it. It's obviously never about bullying Gastari, but about getting the insightful commentary of UFO, LNB, and V from someone who also has it. With a homing shot. You see all these UFOs on screen? They're obstacles, pretty much. I mean, it's not a big deal if you collect them if you aren't Japanese, but if you collect 3, then it's over. My mouse cursor is probably visible and really huge on screen, because OBS just renders it that way. Even if it's... Because this whole 1280 by 960 only counts as 640 by 480 according to OBS. So naturally the mouse cursor is going to be huge if I hover over it, even though it's pretty tiny. Yeah, you're gonna have to dodge everything. Literally everything. I mean, this is just streaming. But this is basically books. Books too. Windows sound. Window XP. This game was probably developed in Windows XP. So it makes sense for that to be in there. Yeah, the internal resolution is 640 by 480, but the thing is, it doesn't matter what the internal resolution is and what the window size is. DirectX will always scale it to the size of the window. So all you need to do to get a bigger window is just pass in bigger numbers to the create window function. But OBS will still pick it up with the internal resolution of 640 by 480. See, it was only in Touhou 14 where the internal resolution was also able to be increased. Resume also increased the internal resolution, which is why these games look so good in the big window compared to those. He also introduced a bunch of new things into A&M because of that. Or rather, the ability to have to say that this should not be scaled to window size, but this should. And the reason why this shouldn't be skill is because that was a death, by the way. Also, just changing the size parameters to the window creation function is how vpatch achieves bigger windows, and DirectX just automatically scales the internal 640 by 480 plane to the window size. I mean, theoretically, Zoom could just make the window resizable and like not force a specific size on it, but just have the window make sure that it's always in 4:3 aspect ratio, so it doesn't become stretched. You could very well implement that. Sounds like a good. It's not Japan. It's not just Japanese programming quirks. It's just a feature of DirectX. Was a nice four corners thread. Don't need to really comment on it. I mean, Zoom doesn't Zoom doesn't use any obscure Japanese things for programming. He just uses Visual Studio, Windows API, Windows SDK, DirectX SDK, and some example code written by Microsoft. That's all he uses, and LCSS. As for what version of Visual Studio, the latest available to him. He compiled Touhou 17 with the demo for Touhou 17 with Visual Studio 2017, and the full version with Visual Studio 2019. This is stage 5. Usually you would have max lives in here. Not this time. Not this time. I assumed it was a bit per common practice with the Dojin scene at the time. Kinda just got used to many older Dojin games too, just requiring a lot of hoops to go through to run as well. A lot of these old Dojin games, they require hoops to run because they use Japanese file names, and you need a Japanese, but then they don't use Unicode, so you need a Japanese locale to run them. Touhou didn't do that since Touhou 7. Since Touhou 7 you could just double click the executable and it would run. That was the cap of Greatest Treasure, which is really good because Greatest Treasures are really hard spell. Certainly, where's the Matrix? That one uses MIDI, but for whatever reason, only properly plays on Windows XP. Not too knowledgeable about MIDI playback on Windows. I know that Touhou uses WinMM, which is deprecated. Like, it has been deprecated for 10 years now, I think, for at least 10 years, but it still works on 10. Not sure what that game uses for MIDI playback, or maybe it just uses some weird quirk of WinMM that doesn't work properly on newer versions of Windows because it's deprecated. That was an unfortunate death. Still 3 lives. Or do you mean properly placed in that it does play, but it's a bit messed up on newer versions? most just assumed it's some really weird thing to probably use for that specific game. Right, I just remembered something. Well, Zune just uses C++ and Visual Studio and Windows and DirectX SDK. Some games are written in a language called Hot Soup Processor, which is and Hot Soup Processor, that is one of those weird Japanese programming tools, and the programming language itself is basically a more advanced version of BASIC. If you install a Hot Soup Processor compiler and development suite, you'll see that everything is in Japanese. I saw a Discord bot that plays Bad Apple in Discord messages that's written Hot Soup Processor. But the thing is, I did actually manage to get it to run, because I managed to install Hot Soup Processor and somehow navigate through the controls despite not knowing anything about the Japanese language. Right, what? I was about to say one Mr. Show, but then there was another. The Zune has always been a fan of more standard Western developed programming tools. Like back in the PC98 days, he compiled this game with Borland Turbo C++ 4.0, which has PC98 support. And he used a mixture of C, C++, and common assembler language. But the way he probably put the games together was probably really janky. Like, people genuinely are not sure how the PC98 Touhou games were even built by Zune himself, because this is just this bad. With newer Touhou games, it looks like he just clicked build and then just put it on a CD, which is a Zune thing to do. Like, that's the only way I could imagine him doing things. Just sit down, write some code, click build, put it on a CD. And then realize 3 days before Comic Hit that there's a critical bug that needs fixing now, so release a patch for that before the game even releases. I should probably learn how to data mine these patches, though I don't think it's even worth it, considering that the game usually releases 3 days later. Yeah, the PC98 games are pretty neat. There's an entire project about perfectly reverse engineering and decompiling the games into, nice cap by the way, into readable C++ code that compiles the exact binaries that Zune shipped on floppy disks. And the code is also meant to be written in a way where you can easily just port it to Windows. It's going really well. Like at the moment, Mystic Square. Is it Mystic Square or Lotus Land Story have full position independence, which means it doesn't matter what you add or remove to the code, it will always compile perfectly, and all of the memory addresses are intact, meaning that the game won't randomly crash on you. It's not fully reverse engineered, but you can add as many things to it or remove as many things to it as you want, and it won't crash because of a wrong memory address. Actually, I think it's both Mystic Sphere and Lotus Land Story that are like that. So when it comes to modding, you can theoretically do a lot more things in PC98 games than on Windows games, but people do a lot more things on Windows than on PC98. Proper proto-modern systems. I mean, that will probably be very far in the future, but at the moment, it's all about just reverse engineering and modding. Just nice capture of that spell. Like, this is Devil's Recitation. That one is a pretty hard spell, and you just capped it. Though, judging by the life counter, there was a death somewhere else. I think I commented on it, but I forgot. Right, final spells. Legendary Flying Saucers, 2 lives. Probably, at this level, having 2 lives in this spell is basically a landslide victory. Because at this level, you've probably practiced it a lot. So I'm not gonna call GG already. Only once the health bar is depleted. That was a good misdirect. Knock on wood. Okay, 1 death. I mean, this could die again, but it was probably still... yeah, it did die again, but it did kill the spell anyways. Right, GG. Now we can close UFO. Up next, we have... and that would actually be the last replay, would be Embodiment of Scarlet Devil. EOXD. A game that's known to work very well. I just hope I can launch it. If I don't, that would be unfortunate. Right, the game is running. I'm gonna keep it focused, then navigate to the replay menu. I'm using MIDI. I'm gonna try WAV once again. Yeah, I don't know why, but WAV just stopped working. I'll try stage 1. Yeah, WAV doesn't give me music anymore, so I have to use MIDI. And now it should be visible. Yeah, I was just trying out if stage 1 would play some music if I were to switch to WAV, but WAV just stopped working for me completely, so I'll have to go with MIDI. Also, this time I won't be able to look at the OBS window to have a bigger window. I'll have to look at the game window, which is tiny. Also, it pauses when I deselect, because it pauses when I deselect it. In the meantime, I'll do it really fast. Comments about to run NA, because I wanted to read the comments. But there aren't any. So, we'll just have to watch the run. And it also says NA for skips. So I'll start playing in stage 4. Yeah, the real run was alt-tabbing fast enough to not desync the music too much. On Saturday TRS, you would reset over a small music desync. Air conditioner cold. Genuine line from the game. Stage 3. We're not gonna see a lot of it because we're just gonna skip it. Or I'm not gonna see a lot of it because I'm just gonna skip it. Rainbow Windchime Grace. Just notice it's still titled UFO at the top. No, this is a very big deal. This is something that needs urgent fixing. Lunatic survival. This is Rainbow BNB. So I just need to change one letter here. And remove some. Right, I have to press Z. I have to press the hotkey to unpause rather than enter because enter wasn't implemented for selecting on the pause menu at that point in time. Stage 4. So I'm gonna fast forward as much as I can. But this is the last run anyway, so it's gonna end soon. Nice. Stage 4 is really cool to route. Like the stage 4 route looks really nice when you execute it all. That's the beauty of stage 4 in UXD. Also, it fits the stream background image. Next time I'm just gonna take the shooting and book. Holy shit! Holy shit! Imagine if you kept book. That actually happened in a 1cc of all things. But someone captured book. Funny fact, you can select books as an option for selecting the mid-boss non in TH Brag. Because books is probably not a mid-boss, but TH Brag considers it to be a mid-boss, basically. I like the idea of just going there. Or just being all the way there to the side. Because you just have so much space there. When I think I did that in the EOSD Lunatic 1cc. I did in 2018 and then I submitted it to other replay showcases because at the time TRS was dead. And that's why I made someone notice that There's actually a lot of space there. Hard to imagine that there was a time where TRS was dead. I mean, it's basically a fact of life these days that it just exists. And people like watching it. How many viewers do we have right now? I can't check because I don't want to pause the game. $18. Yeah, that's good enough. I mean, 18. That used to be a pretty average viewer count. Now it's actually basically a low viewer count to only have 18. Because Saturday TRS gets on average 50 viewers. Shmup TRS yesterday got 60. The one time I checked. Checked a few times. I think it got 60 at maximum. I don't think it reached 70. $21. Okay, that's a good increase. The commentary just improved this much. When I talked about TRS being dead for a while. Mercury poison. Oh, this is a simple one. You just die to it. Why, Rainbow B has a pretty hard patchouli fight because the patchouli fight is different depending on the shot type. And this is one of the harder ones. I actually switched to Marissa B to get easier patchouli. Then switch to Marissa A because her patchouli fight is even harder. You don't actually have to dodge all of those things if you do this. If you do this stage section at the bottom, you just go to the side where the enemies come from and you just kill them. But the DDC version of this section in stage 4, I think you're meant to go up. Like Zoom made that section in reference to this EOSD stage 5 section, and he intended you to go up, but back in the EOSD days he didn't notice that you could do that. Sprinkle system. I mean, if you think about it, this does sound like a sprinkler system. This is something that someone figured out during Touhou World Cup, which is also hosted on this channel. If you don't want to miss Touhou World Cup 2022, which will happen next year, make sure to follow TRS. And also join the Discord server, where you will probably get thinked about it. What a type of command. What a type of command right there. But I decided not to because the game paused. And now the music is desynced, which warrants restarting the entire run. Yeah, this spell is kinda hard. Misdirection. It's not really misdirection, it's just streaming. This sounds really funny with the MIDI. I would like to just play the WAV version, but I have to play MIDI because otherwise there's no music. That's very nice. And I can assure you that it is definitely going to happen because of how successful the last one is. So next one better be just as successful. And it better bring just as many followers to TRS. This one is very funny. So funny that there's an entire funny video with Beethoven music about it. With some good dodges. It's good to see people just be... It's good to see people just be so motivated to play Touhou because of TWSC. Yes, yeah, SC8 output does sound good in MIDI, but yeah, that does require actual output compared to just sound fonts or the default Windows one. The SC88 Pro sound fonts sound pretty good, but the Windows synthesizer... My god, the Windows synthesizer. I just realized I didn't set it to 1%, which is why it was so loud. No, I did it. I unfocused the window intentionally for a dramatic pause before this spell, because it's just so this hard. I've got to make you waste at least one bomb. Look, the game is breaking the fourth wall. Eternal Meek. With this font, there is a nice way to align yourself with a Meek spot with this font and this spell name. You go next to the C, but he probably played it with the Japanese version where you have a different way of lining yourself up between a Japanese open quotation mark and a symbol that looks like an I, a Roman or Roman numeral 1. Right, this spell is impossible. But at least it's not the normal version, which will literally wall you if it aims you the wrong way. EUSD player. Thousand Needle Mountain, which is actually called Mountain of 1,000 Needles. Knife spin. Wow. But he's avoiding the... Well, he was avoiding the spotted wall, then went right below it and then just died, but not to the wall. Meister. Funny Touhou moment. Wait, this spell can actually also wall you, but not in the same way Vampire Illusion does. Also no spin, unbased. Endurance test, but not the ethical version because you just power cancel it. If you have low enough power for that, that is. Yeah, this spell has no phases or anything. It's just pure endurance. And pure dodging. Kefit moment. You saw the Kefit clip where he died to unfocus on this spell. Right? GG. Well, that is all the replays that I have for today. So now that we're done with those, thank you everyone for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you on Saturday and on Sunday next week. Bye.